Okay, before I change all of them, I should probably look more into that. How's stream going? So far, so good, actually. Also, welcome to the stream, Panda Wannabe. Let's see here. Twitch activity feed. Oh my gosh. But yeah. Alright, nice. Yeah, so far I've just been retexturing the banners inside of this level here. And I've also got a start on making fixes to my ballroom underneath here. So I have my scene in Blender. Don't mind the disconnected shaders inside of here. Looking very nice. How long have you been making games? I've been 3D modeling and working with game engines for about, I want to say, yeah, pretty much ever since 2012. Yeah, 2012. I started learning how to 3D model back in 2008. So yeah, I've been doing it for quite a while, but I've only been streaming on Twitch for maybe about a year and a half. Actually, really more like a year and 4 months. But yeah. I've recently started doing commissions on VR chats, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. I just started trying to make my own game and not going good. That's okay. That's okay. You're always going to have hang-ups and stuff like that. I worked on a volunteer team for a little while, and it was pretty rough going for a lot of us because we were all learning new things. Video games are very highly technical, and you know, that's just the way it is. Very technical, a lot of things to learn, and it could be a lot. So yeah, biggest issue I'm having with Blender TBH is I can't seem to do anything in it. Oh really? Why is that? Just not being able to 3D model, or not being able to export correctly, or just nothing's not really working the way you want it? Because I know that feeling. It sucks. A lot of it is just kind of practice. Most of it just kind of comes down to practice. But the other part, I think, is just being able to... it's most of it's just kind of trial and error. But I think the fastest way that I learned the most out of 3D modeling and Blender, most of it just kind of came with working with a community or working with a bunch of different people. And yeah, that's working with people, I think, is just kind of key when it comes to arts, or just, you know, especially in video games in general, because it sucks to spar alone. TBH, I don't know how to move around in Blender at all or anything like that. I just don't know how to place walls or floors, etc. Coding, I'm pretty good at that for the most part. Okay. Do you want me to show you? It's actually pretty straightforward. Sure, if you don't mind. Of course, yeah. Alright, so...
Hey, Rune.
Starting with a default scene right here. Although, oh, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Alright, so... actually, there is a... Oh, okay, here we go. So on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, you can actually see sort of commands that you actually can use. So left-clicked, obviously, you can select objects. You can click on things. You have a 3D view, and then on this side, you have your hierarchy, which is basically all of your 3D objects or anything inside of your scene. It's going to show up inside of here. I'm off to bed. Good night, all. Good night, Sharky. Love you, Mom. But yeah, so anything that's a 3D object or a mesh will have this little triangular icon right here, because it represents a polygon or a triangle. If it's a camera, looks like it has this little camera icon. And if it's a light, it's got a light bulb. A collection is just a box, so you can throw anything inside of this box, and you can use this to hide objects, turn them back on, just so that, you know, keep things organized. But if you want to select things, you left click. But if you want to rotate and tumble around the screen, you hold down the middle click of your mouse or your scroll. Like if you have a scroll button on your mouse, you just hold that down and you can rotate around your scene. And you can just kind of tumble around like that all day. Right-clicking just reveals like different like menu context menus for different tools. But for navigation, you're gonna keep your left hand on the Control, Shift, and Alt keys. So right hand on the mouse, left hand on the Control, Shift, Alt keys, because you're gonna be switching between those to kind of switch between different functions of the view. You're gonna be using the middle mouse button pretty much to navigate your scene. So if middle mouse button rotates, then holding down Shift and middle mouse will pan the camera left and right. So Shift and middle click, that pans. But if you hold down Control, that will dolly your camera in and out. In and out, just like that. Now, inside of your 3D view, it could be a little difficult to see what's going on orthographically from the side, because there's things like it can be difficult to see what's going on in terms of like perspective. So this is why a lot of 3D artists will encourage you to use the orthographic views. What does that mean? It's basically a flat angle, kind of like a blueprint of something. Like if you're looking at like a blueprint of a building, you always look at it from like the top down or from the side, and it's a completely flat angle and it has like no perspective to it. Very technical. So if you want to use a technical angle, you use an orthographic view, and you can do that one of two different ways. You can hover your mouse over this gizmo here on the top right. It's called a gizmo, and you can click between the viewports just by highlighting your mouse over this thing, and then you'll get a completely flat angle on your left, front, top, bottom, back, or right-hand sides. Or, alternatively, this one's my favorite, you keep your left hand right next to the Shift and Control keys, and instead of using Shift or Control, you hold down Alt, and then hold down the middle mouse button, and then you flick the mouse. And you can alternatively just kind of flick between different views, like you're swiping on an iPad. You just hold down that Alt key, and you can flip left, right, up, or down. Yeah. Now, I'll teach you some. Now, once you kind of get used to that, to just kind of navigating around your scene, you can you can use the scroll, the scroll to zoom in and out a little bit more quickly. So if you have a mouse scroll, you can zoom in and out that way too, instead of just holding down Control and middle and holding down middle mouse. But the reason why you might want to change between using the scroll versus the dolly is because one has more fine control than the other. So if you notice, if you use the scroll, it zooms out in steps. But if you hold down Control and the middle mouse button, you get incremental. You can get fine controls with this one instead of just zooming in, zooming in. Let's say if you want to get something really, really close to something, and then all of a sudden, oh, that might be a little too close. Or, oh no, I don't want to get that close. Now I'm inside my cube. Well, you hold down Control, dolly backwards, and now you have that fine control. Just like that. Okay. So, if you're warmed up with that, I'll teach you some modeling tools. Really basic ones. So, this is a cube. This is what every scene begins with. A lot of people, what kind of makes me laugh about a lot of Blender tutorials is that they'll generally start out like this. Okay, first off, you're going to delete your default cube, and then you're going to add your default cube back in. It's like, dude, it's there for a reason. You can just Blender is really cool because it just gives you something to 3D model, and you can just go. Of course, you don't have to use it, but I'll show you how to make a new one just so you can do it yourself. So anyway, I'll delete the default cube, and then you're going to open or add a new. You're going to add a new object. So up here, you have your menu, add, mesh, and you have all these different little icons. You have all these different little options here. Mesh involves polygon objects. So if you want polygonal objects that have, like, you know, polygon faces and vertices and edges, you want to use these. 90% of the time, if you're going to be 3D modeling stuff for video game assets, you're probably going to be using mesh. Curve is for creating, like, Bezier curves, like for paths or, you know, vector images. These have a very particular use for other types of 3D models, but I won't talk about that right now. Surface objects, this is for something called NURBS, non-uniform something spline. Basically, it's just like curves, but surfaces are more used for organic modeling. They're used for organic modeling, but they're also very useful for hard surface models. Particularly if you're designing a car, you're probably gonna be using surfaces. Metaball, that's for like various effects. If you want to add text, you can add text through here, and then you have a whole bunch of different stuff here. But anyway, coming back to mesh, you got quad sphere, plane, cube, circle, UV sphere, icosphere, cylinder, cone, torus. Then you have a couple of other fun things here as well that I have added in. You might notice here that I have some things that you probably don't in your menu, like torus object, math functions, gears. This is the result of add-ons, so you don't have to worry about that right now. I just have those in so I can make my own stuff. Archimesh, that's another plugin, but let's just add in a cube. Okay, so you got a cube. What do? Well, you can select the object and now you want to move it, or you want to do something, but you find out you can't really do it, or you don't really know what to select next. Well, inside of Blender, you have your object. You have two different types of modes in 3D view. You have object mode, which is just viewing your scene, and then you have edit mode. So, how do you enter edit mode? You can do that one of two ways. You have on the very top of your menu, you have something called layout. And then you have modeling. You click that, and now you're in your modeling view. Alternatively, you don't really have to go into the modeling tab at all. I don't. What I do is that I like to click on an object on the cube, and I'm going to hold down the tab key. This is going to bring up a pie menu. And it's going to ask you, okay, what would you like to select? You can do a few things. You can enter edit mode, just like this. Or, this is actually kind of redundant, but edit mode basically does really the same thing. It just kind of opens up the modeling view and the modeling tools on the left-hand side. But if you open this little menu here, you can also switch back to object mode. But if I hold down tab again, let's say I want to select a face, an edge, or vertex. This is how you... These basically give you different ways you can 3D model your objects. Selecting a face will select a polygon, a whole polygon. And now, let's have a look at some of our basic modeling tools. You can ignore 3D cursor for now, because you don't really need that for now. Basically, 3D cursor is just where you can spawn objects, or like adjust the location of your cursor, or you can use the cursor to relocate the center of your origin, but don't worry about that right now. You have move, which you can just take this and you can move it up to the side or to the left or right. Basically, you can move it along all the different axes, X, Y, and Z. Now you might notice like you have these little squares next to your move tool. What this does is that it will actually move that face upon those two axes. So if you drag along that arrow, it will drag only upon that axis, that y-axis. So if you notice, green on the arrow is on the y-axis, red is for x, and blue is for z. But if you click this red box here, you can move it up and to the side on the y-axis. But you can't move it on the x. If I want to move it on the x, you select this square. It'll move along those two axes. If I want to move it, if I don't want to move it up and down, but I want to pan it either on both the x and y axes, I could select this blue square right here and just bring it around town, just like that. And that's your move tool. Rotate basically does the same thing. You can rotate your objects. You can rotate your selections. And you can kind of see, if you rotate it around this way, you'll end up with some really funky results, some really glitchy looking geometry. Typically, you want to keep vertices. Now, what we have here is basically some really bad geometry, or basically the your polygons. Each of these vertices are connected to each other based upon each verts are connected to each other. In a fixed position. So if you want to change them, you actually have to delete the edge and then reroute them. But we'll worry about that later. So move, rotate, scale. Scaling is like basically making something bigger or smaller. So you might notice you'll have an option to make things big or small on a particular axis, like this. Let's say if I want to make this flat, I'll show you something. I'll take this and then click the 0 key. Now that face is completely flat. This face over here is not flat. I want to flatten it by this x-axis right here. So I'm going to click this controller right here, the red square. I'm going to click 0 on the num key, on the numpad. That's flat. But wait 1 second. Let's say you don't want to scale something up based on one particular axis. Maybe you want to scale something up universally. Don't worry, I got you covered. Object mode. You click your object or your face, whichever you want to select, and then you hit the S key on your keyboard. S for scale. And now it will scale universally. And if you take your cursor, and watch this trick, you'll see this. This is kind of cool. If you take your cursor and move left or right on the monitor, you can just scale infinitely. You don't have to keep on doing this business. You don't have to do this business. You can just take your cursor, hit S once, move it along the monitor, and just keep on going. And it'll still go and go and go and go. Just like that. Transform is just basically a mix of all these things. I don't really use this very often, but all the other stuff down here is just a mixture of various other polygon modeling tools. But I will show you really quick the most essential modeling tool that you will ever use every single day. It's called Extrude. So if you right-click, if you select a face, and it's very specific, you have to select a polygon to make this work. Or at least you should. So if you want to extrude a polygon, I'm going to right-click a model, and I'm going to click Extrude Faces. Now notice, on this context menu, you will see a letter E denoting the Extrude Faces tool, which means you can either right-click this menu and hit Extrude Faces, and you will extrude a face by dragging upward, and when you left-click, the command will finish. If you want to extrude again, you can select a face, tap the letter E on your keyboard, and you will extrude. And extrude, and extrude, as many times as you want. Typically, you want to avoid doing something like this because, this is kind of, honestly, this is just kind of like, this is not very good modeling techniques. Well, it's okay, but you typically want to avoid doing something like this. So I'll show you how to fix this because what will happen is you'll kind of end up with bad shading, or you'll just end up using polygons that you really won't need. So let's say you modeled something, but you want to keep this little edge here, and you want to get rid of these. If you hit the delete key on your keyboard, you'll get a delete context menu, and you'll get options for delete vertices, delete. Do you want to delete vertices? Do you want to delete edges? Do you want to delete faces? Only faces and edges? Only faces? Or dissolve? But there's a very specific function behind all of these. If you delete faces, you will delete exactly that, your polygon faces. Now, why would you want to use any of the other ones? If you dissolve the faces, let's see here. I will show you really quick. Dissolve faces kind of has a very different function. Actually, I don't usually use dissolve faces very often, but it kind of worked for what we were doing here a little bit. But yeah, dissolve faces. Yeah, so that kind of gets rid of faces that are kind of clashing into each other like that. But there's another way we can make this look a little better. So delete faces. I'm going to go into edge mode, holding down tab to get into our pie menu. Edge mode. And you might ask, how did you get into that transparent mode? Well, there's two ways. Because I just realized I just got into the tool without actually explaining what I just did. This is called X-ray mode. And it's a really good way for you to see what you're doing behind your model. You'll notice if you're in edit mode, and if you're in face select or vertex select, doesn't really matter. Let's say I can drag a box and select these polygons here, right? Well, pan your camera around the model. Huh, that's weird. It didn't select all of the faces on my model. And the reason why it didn't do that is because you can only select objects that are visible to you, the camera. However, if you turn on X-ray mode, you could see all the faces, including the ones behind you're facing, the polygons that you're currently facing. And you'll also see that your polygons have like a little dot, a little square, or a little point right in the middle of your face. So if you notice, you click, you click, you click. Huh, why can't I select anything? I want to select these faces, but I can't select nothing. Well, you select the control point in X-ray mode. And the reason why you do that, the reason why it does that is for precision. You have to deliberately select the faces in X-ray mode. You don't really have that little, you don't have to do that inside of your shaded view because it kind of assumes that you want to select freeform. But in X-ray mode, you can accidentally select so many things. So it turns to that precision selection mode where you have to select that little control point in the center of your face. And if you want to select the back-facing polygon on the back of your model, you'll hold down Shift to select those polygons. And I'm gonna, and to enter and exit the transparency or X-ray mode, I hold down Shift Z. That's Shift Z for zebra. And the reason why it's Z is because you want to see what's behind your model. So kind of think of it that way. Although, when most people think of the Z-axis, they think of depth. But in terms of Blender, Z is up, which is kind of weird. And it changes between various softwares. Like in Maya, Z is, depth. And in Blender, Z is up. And that tends to be the case for a lot of different software, like 3ds Max, ZBrush, Maya, Cinema 4D. But yeah, you'll in my experience, they kind of change around everywhere. But anyway, yeah, so I deleted those polygons here. Let's fill in this face right here. So we deleted those polygons along the inside of our model. I'm going to grab these edges here. But you'll kind of notice something. These edges go all the way to the very end here. That's kind of weird. So if you do it like this, if you grab these faces, let's say right-click. Let's see if we can find our tool here. Yes, here it is. You're going to create new face from edges, which has the hotkey F. That's F for faces. It actually kind of worked. Okay. So, well, yeah, it kind of did work. Let's see if it's... Okay. You might notice something. If you move this around, or, if you move this guy around, you're going to get some weird shading. And that's because we filled in a face, we filled in a polygon, but Blender doesn't really know where to attach an edge to these vertexes. So we're going to fix that right now. I'm going to Control Z this, and you will see that it's going to get... it's got really confused here. So we'll try this again. I'm going to delete that face, and we're going to do it a different way. So you already know the extrude command. So instead of extruding a polygon, or extruding from a face, we're going to extrude from an edge. So I'm going to hit E, and we're going to pull this down here, like this. Oh, but you'll probably notice, if you click E and then extrude, well, you're kind of freeforming, aren't we? Well, you could do one of two things. If you press middle click, you can lock that extrusion to an axis. You can go up, you can go down, back, or left. In our case, we want this to get merged. We want to stitch this to those vertices. And if we do it like this, and left click, you're going to be off a little bit. And you always are, until you stitch them together, until you merge the vertices together. And how do you do that? Well, you just have to weld them together. You basically think of your model as like a shell or a box or like an origami. You have to stitch it together, or you have to glue the whole thing together, and you have to kind of weld it. Otherwise, it's just going to be hollow, because that's kind of what polygons are on the inside. They're hollow until we stitch them together. So I'm going to go into edit mode, select vertex, and then I'm going to select this vertex and that one. I'm going to right click, and you're going to click, and you're going to see an option called merge vertices. And you have several different options. You can merge at center, at cursor, collapse, at first, or at last. I'll walk you through these. But also, it denotes here merge vertices. If you want to summon this menu, you could hit the M key. That's M for merge. So tap M, and you'll get the merge menu. Does like the same thing. If you merge at center, it will merge at the center point between the two vertices. Just like that. However, you don't really want to use this unless you want to merge a whole bunch of vertices at a singular point of coincidence. So we're going to Control Z that. Undo. So we're going to merge. At cursor, well, you probably remember the 3D cursor I mentioned earlier. If I hit merge at cursor, it's going to merge the two vertices together at the 3D cursor. You can move the 3D cursor around if you really wanted to. However, we're not going to do that either. I am going to merge. If you hit collapse, collapse is kind of the same thing as merge at center, but it doesn't really work for these guys because it's for a very specific circumstance where you're merging a whole bunch of polygons together inside of an empty space. It's a very rare thing to use. But then the last three ones that you're going to use most of the time are going to be either at first, at last, or by distance. At first means it's going to merge by the first vertex that you selected. And if you merge by at last, it's going to merge to the last object that you selected, or the last vertex you selected. There you go. But let's say this. Let's say this happens. I'll come back to this tool later in a little bit. I'll show you what's going on here. But, vertex really quick. Okay. Let's say you have a circumstance like this corner right here. You have two loose vertices right on top of each other. And they're not attached. They're not welded. And you can't really select the two of them inside of the regular object view, but you can select them in X-ray. Okay, so what do we do from here? If you know you have two vertices literally on top of each other, or so microscopically close to each other that they might as well be on top. Excuse me, that they might as well be on top of each other. I kind of choked on my own spit there. My bad. That's where this guy comes in. Merge by distance. So we're going to click that. Oops. You notice on the very bottom of my... you can't really see it on my screen here, but if you notice... let's see if I can scroll this. Can I move? Hold on. Okay, here we go. I'll do that one more time so that you guys can kind of see what's going on. So I'll select this guy, merge by distance. You'll see a little error, a little info bubble right there. It said removed 0 vertices. That means it didn't do anything. It didn't remove any vertices. If we're merging vertices, that means it's going to remove at least one vertex. So what we want to do here, we're going to go into X-ray mode, Shift Z. We're going to box select the two vertices. M key, merge by distance. Removed one vertex. But notice you have a drop-down menu on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, and it will appear there as long as you didn't do anything else, as long as you didn't click on anything else. So click the arrow key next to merge by distance, and you'll get some additional commands or additional options for your tool. And you'll see merge distance 0.001 meters. That means it will merge any vertex that is within 0.001 meters width of each other. Let's say you have a ton of vertices together, but they are they're kind of far apart and it doesn't quite merge together. Let's say, okay, watch this. Let's say if I merge it like this, Turn off snap. You'll notice if they're a certain distance away, even if I have two vertices selected, it will not merge by distance. That's because you need to turn up the merge distance sensitivity, because it will only merge vertices that are within that range. So if you take this and turn it to 0.01, okay, in our case, it still didn't do it. So let's go up a little further, 0.1. There it goes. Generally, you never need to go up that far, but I will show you one more technique really quick. Actually, yeah, let's just merge those two together right here. At last, there. But now, you might notice, we've got another dangling vertice right here. And here, too. That's a problem. Let's go ahead and merge those together as well. Actually, it doesn't matter if you have this one selected right here, because if you merge by distance and click 0.001, remove two vertices. Yep, so that's fine. So you can afford to be a little sloppy with this guy, because it only affects vertices within a certain range. So that's all well and good. This guy isn't really you can see this vertex isn't really attached to anything up here, because if you pull him down here, he just creates a big hole. And this is a problem for us, because if you export this into a game engine while you have a hole right there, you're going to have shading issues, where basically if you bring in a light, it's going to look a little odd. So if I bring this light over here, you might be able to see it here, but I might be doubtful, because lights works a little bit differently inside of Unity than it does in Blender. You might see some shading artifacts here, but we'll see. Okay, yeah, maybe a bad example there, but anyway. Watch this. So, let's say we want to connect this vertex to the polygons up here to prevent this hole from forming, so we can clean this up. Well, there are ways we can do this. We're going to we're going to add an edge, and we're going to use, let's see here. Back for just 1 second, check your messages. Okay, it's about 11:30 right now. Okay. Kiki has thrown up twice tonight, both times in your hallway. Make sure you watch your step when you leave your room tonight. Okay. Good to know. That's strange. Kiki doesn't normally throw up like that, so that's kind of concerning. Okay. Good to know. I'll show you this one last tool here, and then we'll probably call it a night right now. But anyway, this is a really essential tool for learning how to 3D model, so you can create your own edges or your own verts. Okay, night, Mom. I love you. So, tab, vertex, select a vertex, and, oh yeah, what we're going to show you here is not really in the right-click menu. It's actually probably going to be over here, but if not, let's see here. We're looking for the knife tool. Ah, yeah, there it is. The knife tool, the one that obviously doesn't look like a knife. Okay, actually, what it does look like is a box with a green line, a jagged green line going through it. What we'll do here is we'll select the knife tool, and you might notice, I can't really select anything. I was looking for a knife icon. I found it. Yeah, I know, right? It's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it? Although what's funny is that when you select the knife icon, you will get a knife cursor. So, let's see here. This might work, this might not, but let's see here. Okay, so what the knife tool will do is it will snap a vertex to an edge. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on an edge, and we're just going to pull this guy down to this edge down here. And you might notice if you hover near that dangling vertex, it might actually snap to that vertex. So you can do either one of those two things. You can either create a new vertex right here, like this, and then you'll hit enter. Congratulations, you just made your own edge. And then we'll just go back to the selection tool like that. Now, you can also access the knife tool by hitting K on your keyboard. Okay, but you'll notice this one thing that's kind of acting a little strange. Like you're kind of cutting this little guy right here between these two vertices, but it's not really doing anything. How weird. Well, that's kind of because Blender is a little confused on the location of the vertex, because remember, this vertex is not connected to that face. So one of two things need to happen. We need to find a way to connect that face, and there's a lot of ways we could do that. We can do exactly what we did before, or since we already cut our edge right here, we're just going to select that new vertex that we just made, and we're just going to merge at last. And that's it. You're done. Oh, also, if this is a little bit of a strange key to remember, but yeah, if you move this guy around, see? It's totally attached now. So the model, it's complete. If you select a vertex like this, and you hit the G key, you can move this thing around in any particular direction. If you hold down the middle mouse, you can lock it to an axis if you want. Or, here's another trick. If you hit the G key to move, and you're in this free move state right here, you can hit X, Y, or Z on your keyboard, and it will lock the movements to those axes. X, Y, or Z. Just like that. Let's say your model is a little bit misshapen, like maybe you kind of screwed something up. You did some you fucked around and now you found out. Now your model's a mess. Well, okay. We can fix this without having to Control Z. Let's say we got so far into our model that we've basically ran out of undos, or we did so many other things that we just undoing it meant undoing everything, all the other progress that we did in our current scene. So what we'll do here is we're going to fix this using our snapping tools. On the top of your screen, you'll see a little magnet icon. This is called Snap During Transformation. You can click those little magnets, and it'll when it highlights, you'll see that snapping is active. And you can access your snapping menu under the little drop-down key right here. And you have several different options here. You can snap by increment, grid, vertex, snap to edge, snap to face. You can snap to a few other options here, but we're going to focus on snap to closest vertex. Also, make sure align rotation to target is off, because sometimes that might kind of screw things up a little bit. But you'll if you notice that your selection is rotating as you snap, that's why. So make sure that's off. So snap closest vertex, and then you're going to do exactly what you just been doing all along, snapping on using the move tools. So G, Z to move up. That will snap that vertex to that. That'll snap that vertex to that one, but it will only go up because it'll only go up to the same elevation because I locked it by the Z axis. Let's pull this guy back. So G, Y, and I know to hit Y because the green arrow means Y, and if you ever lose track of which axis you're looking at, you can look at this upper right-hand corner, and you can see which axis, which direction your axis is located. So G, Y, snap is still on, and now we could take these two and these two right here, and we could snap to there. And we could just keep on going. Just keep it going. Snapping can be a lot of fun. In a lot of ways, it can be kind of therapeutic. It's like Legos. Just like that. Now, you might notice that we have a dangling vertex here. It still works, but it's not really joined to anything. Generally, you kind of want to prevent this sort of thing from happening. Rule of thumb, this is going to create something called an n-gon. And what is an n-gon? An n-gon is a polygon that has more than 4 sides. So a polygon means it has a polygon specifically means a face that has specifically 4 sides or 4 vertices. And then you have triangles. A triangle is, well, a polygon with 3 sides. When you export a 3D model into a game engine, it's going to be exported, it's going to be converted into triangles. It just is. And the reason why that is because it's easier for your GPU to process triangles than quads. That's just the way it is. But anyway, you could do this one of 2 ways. You could select this vertex right here, and then select another vertex, and you can right-click, and you'll see a little command that says Connect Vertex Path. And it has a little denotation that says J, which means that it has a hotkey. It has a hotkey, and it's assigned to the letter J. And now we've created another edge, and that edge connects that loose vertex to our corner. I'll do it one more time. Now, when you if you delete an edge, you'll probably notice that this happens. Oh no, I just deleted my whole polygon. That's because if you delete edges, it will take the rest of the polygon with it, which can be handy for a number of reasons. But in my opinion, it's kind of redundant because then you would just delete the face. But anyway, if you wanted to just delete an edge, select the edge, dissolve edges. It will preserve the polygon, but dissolve the edge inside. So you could select that vertex, and if you hit the J key, you will join the vertices. That's J for join. Let's see here. I'll do one more, and I'll call it a night. So, let's see here. Edge. Okay. So. Oh, yeah, okay. So, right next to the knife tool on your left-hand side of your toolbar, you'll probably notice an icon that looks very similar to it. Loop cut. And this is very essential because this will help you add more polygons to your object very fast. So, like, for example, rather than hitting extrude, extrude, extrude on everything everywhere, you could simply go to loop cut, and you will create a loop around your polygons. And you'll probably notice here that because our geometry is a little wonky donkers. Oh, yeah, go back to here. Because our geometry was a little wonky donkers over here. Yeah, that guy is also not connected to anything. We'll just have to merge these two guys together. So we'll merge by last. And then we'll join this guy. Oh, here we go. Watch this. Gonna go to the knife tool. Cut that and that. And then I'll knife this down here. Or just actually, let's knife this up here. That might be better. And then merge those two at last. Snap. There we go. And then I'll just dissolve that edge to clean that up. Yeah. Okay. I'll show you a really quick way to, let's say you have a edge loop, but you want this to be straight. If you go to edge mode and you hold down, let's see, you know how to select edges, but if you go into edge mode on your pie menu here, select an edge, hold down the Alt key on your keyboard, and then select an edge along a loop, and it will highlight that whole loop around your model. So you'll select all the vertices that are tied to that edge loop. And it will end wherever there is a break in your model or in your vertices. So we'll select that loop, and we're going to go to scale. We'll hit the S key, and then we will lock it to the Y axis, and then we're going to hit 0, because it's going to scale only on that axis. Then we're going to hit enter. Now our edge loop is completely straight along the Y axis. And we can continue to add more edge loops. Now, under the, also, I forgot to mention, the hotkey for loop cuts is Control R. So rather than come down to loop cut, you can hit Control R for ring. So that's the way I remember it. So loop cut means ring. So if you want to add edge loops or edge rings, Control R. I'll snooze this ad, so you that way you don't get interrupted. Control R. Oh. Oh shoot! I hit Control R and I refreshed my chat page. Whoopsie. All right, so Control R inside of Blender. Now, while you're still in the edge loop mode and you're highlighting stuff along your model, try scrolling up. If you scroll up while hovering your mouse over your model with the edge loop tool selected, you will create more edge loops. And if you... It's going to be hard to see, but... Okay, it's going to be hard to see, but along the upper left-hand side of your screen, right next to your box select tool, you'll see a little number right here that says cuts 5. That's how many cuts or how many edge loops that you're going to add to your selection. So if you notice, if you hit the scroll tool, right now it says cuts 1. If you scroll up, it says 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you ever need to know any, if you want to know if you really want to work precisely and you need to know how many cuts you're making along a model, it will make exact equal cuts along your along those faces, and they will be evenly spaced. So I just went with 2 edge loop cuts here. I left-clicked the model, and then I added 2 edge loops. Now, you'll probably see some additional options along the lower side here. let's say it wasn't enough. Let's say 2 wasn't enough. You could still go up from right here. Smoothness is just how smooth do you want the selection to be. I would generally leave this alone 90% of the time. Fall off, I wouldn't worry too much about that. That's just the fall off of how your smoothness works. So you're gonna keep that at 0, and generally you're gonna keep this at like, yeah, just don't even worry about that. Factor is basically how much factor the edge will slide up and down the center of your face. We're gonna keep that at 0 because we want that even. We want our edge loops to be evenly spaced with each other. And then if you click off, it will. Yeah, you've just added some more polygons. So if you extrude those in, hey, it's like we got a building or something. Just use your imagination. But yeah, those are some of the more essential kind of basic tools of Blender. Let's say you want to export something out to a game engine. I'll show you something. I'll show you this and then I'll call it a day, because I know I've said that a few other times, but you know, because I'm sure you want to play with your models inside of like Unity or Unreal or something. So, okay, we're gonna click this model, and we're gonna go to File, Export, and you can export this as one of 2 different formats. Unity, yeah. You can export this as either one of 2 formats, OBJ or FBX. Generally, you're going to export as an FBX. And the reason why is because FBX files contain geometry, textures, and animations. So if you're ever going to export a character that has like a rig or an animation or blend shapes, generally it's going to be an FBX. OBJ is just strictly geometry information. So 3D model, if you just want to export the 3D model and literally nothing else, you could do an OBJ if you really wanted to. But FBX, generally you're just going to see that like 95% of the time. Okay. I'm just going to find a place to, yeah, let's see here, VR chat projects. Why not? I'll show you. I found a place that I want to export it to. I found a folder. Now, before you hit export FBX, you need to look at your settings out here. And I'll move this over here so I'll get my fat head out of the way. Okay. So, path mode object, restore operator. Okay. So, you're going to look at this guy right here, and you're going to have a quick read through these really quick. You'll see limit to selected objects, visible objects, or active selection. Well, we selected our 3D model in our scene, and you can tell it's selected because in our 3D modeling scene, you see it's outlined with an orange highlight. And in our hierarchy, it's got a blue highlight inside of our hierarchy menu. So that object is selected. We're going to limit our scene to selected objects. This is important because if you don't have this checkmark selected, you will export everything in your 3D modeling scene. And that can be a bad thing because generally I work with really big scenes that have lots and lots and lots of different models. So, might want to be careful with that. Object types, typically you can leave this alone, although this only tells you like what kind of objects do you want to export in your scene. So if you have object empties, if you want to export your cameras, your lights, rigs, but in our case, generally I like to select mesh because I only want to export any object that is a mesh. You don't have to do this because it's kind of understands that what you have selected will only be exported. So kind of redundant, but I do it because I'm paranoid. uh, Transform, scale. Okay, don't touch scale. Apply scalings. So how to apply? You want to take this apply scalings, and you want to change this from all local to FBX all. And the reason why this is important is because it will apply the scaling inside of your 3D model, and it will reset your scale back to 0. And the reason why that's important is because your model might be scaled up or down respectively, because your scales weren't reset. So take that, apply scalings, FBX all. That way you can maintain the proportion of your model, or maintain the scale of your model. Forward, you want to change this forward from -Z. I don't know why Blender does this. It's kind of stupid, but you want to change forward to X forward. And then leave Y up alone. Because inside of Unity, Y is up, not Z. The Y axis is up. And also, you also want to hit the check mark next to apply transforms. And this is basically for the same rationale as applying the scalings, like setting that to FBX all. And that's it. So I'll just quickly review that for you really quick. So selected objects, put the check next to that. Mesh, FBX all, X forward, Y up, apply transform. Now we just got to name it. I'll just name it whatever, and then I'll hit export FBX. And I just happen to have Unity open right now, so let's do that. I'm going to go into here. I'm going to find a folder that I want to drag my object into. So let's go find Sandoria Castle, Rune, Mesh. Yeah, because these are all objects that I made, that I edited. So I'm going to put my things inside of here. So I'm going to find my folder. Where did I put it? It should have been here, but... Hold on, let me check one more time. Export, FBX, VR chat, projects, Blender. Whoopsie. I put mine in the wrong folder. My bad. Okay. Yeah, so thankfully, if you have Blender open, it will keep your same settings as you had the last time. But if you close Blender and open it again, this will go back to the defaults. So read this every time. Make sure to read that side panel before you hit export. So I can't stress that enough, because I've made that mistake before. It sucks. Guildhall, Asset Packs, Blender. There we go. Okay. Go back to Unity. Find the folder. Okay, there it is. The file that looks like I had a stroke while typing it. I'm just going to take this guy. I'm going to click and drag it into my my project folder inside Unity. And there it is. I'm just going to take this guy. I'm going to click and drag it into the scene. And there it is. And that's how you bring in a model into Unity. And you can see the material information, some other stuff associated with the model, casting shadows, light attributes. The material is actually locked to the model because it's since it's an FBX, it will it will tie the material to whatever you made inside of Blender into Unity. Uh, but yeah, if you want to play around, that's how. And from here, you can also add components. You can cancel. You can add a mesh collider so that if you ever want to hit the play button and walk on top of this thing, the mesh collider will collide with your player model. But yeah. And that's it. You know enough to be dangerous. Just practice with that. An hour a day, you'll get good. Just stick to some basic techniques. Take your time. Approach every model deliberately. Oh, let's see here. Allow. Could I ask you a quick question? Sure, sure. What you got? I'm going to see if I can find someone to raid while you type. And an ad will probably start in about 2 minutes. I apologize. If the ad starts and you type your question, I will answer your question in text. That way I won't miss it. That way you won't miss it. There we go. Let's see here. Should I work on a smaller game first, or should I stick with my plan? I hear some people say that should start small first, and others say, nah, go ahead. I guess that really depends on your scope. Like a 2D game or something or nah. I guess it really depends. Do you really want, how badly do you want to make a 3D game? Because if you want to do it, go for it. But if you want to, 2D games, it's true. 2D games are a lot easier to make than 3D games. They take a lot less time. However, if you create a stylized game, if you stick to non-photorealistic graphics, if you stick to a top-down view versus like a first-person view or third-person view, you'll have a lot easier of a time. Top-down views, like Metal Gear Solid game, like kind of like Metal Gear Solid, like the early Metal Gear Solid games, that actually will help you save a lot more time, because anything that involves the camera being further and further away, you won't have to develop models that are super, super detailed. Anything that requires more style or small. How often do you stream? I stream about 3 times a week. Same time, Friday, Saturday, and Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. But yeah. Ad starts in about 20 seconds. I'll answer the rest of your questions on text in case if the ad plays. But if you ever want to go back and read the VOD, I will also speak it as well. But let's see here. Actually, oh crap! I'm probably too late. Oh well. Yeah. I stream per week. Okay. And but yeah, in the layman, let's see here. I'm trying to make a small, short horror game, first person, very badly. Okay, that's fine. I'd say if you want to make if you want to make a stylized first person video game, like let's say what's that one horror game that everybody likes right now? Not Bad Company, but is gonna be like a VHS style game. Okay, that's cool. But yeah, actually, here we go. I'll show you. For your art style, I would encourage you to look into low polygon stylization for your 3D models, because the less polygons that you'd have to deal with, the easier it will be for you to model them and manage things. Because anything that involves high resolution textures or high resolution models, it just gets really, really complicated and really time consuming. That this way, if you stick to this, uh, it will you can just kind of keep things moving along at a nice, non-stressful pace, because the hardest thing that a 3D modeler can make is photorealism, and I know that from experience, because I've worked on I think the hardest thing that a game developer can make, period, is just a 3D photorealistic RPG game. That's the hardest thing that you can make, period. And I would I would highly discourage anyone who's a first timer from making a photorealistic RPG. Yeah, I always thought the hardest thing to make was deadlines. Uh, Depends. I mean, I guess that's kind of true on. That's funny, but yeah, that's kind of a truism no matter what. But yeah, uh, for me, honestly, we all struggle with deadlines. I struggle with deadlines too. But honestly, I think mm, there are deadlines are their own different type of stress. Like there's crunch, and then there's existential crisis. But yeah, um, deadlines are so much fun. Gotta love them. I know, right? Oh man. Well, the good thing is that if you're working on your own game, you set your own deadlines. No one else. Unless you have a producer, and that's a whole different story. But yeah, if you have a producer, that means you have somebody funneling money into your project, and then you have to abide by their rules and their expectation. And it's like, hey man, I gave you $1 million to make this thing. Where is it? You said it'd be done in 6 months. Oh yeah, yeah, for real. That's like the best thing. LOL. No one's saying when it needs to be done by. Exactly. Yeah, and remember, uh, the most important thing if you're making your own game, have fun. I know that sounds really cliche and really stupid, but you have to remember that the reason why you're making this is for yourself, not for anyone else. It's important to remember that. So if anyone ever tells you, "Oh, why did you do it like this?" or "Why didn't you do it like that?" or "Why didn't you do something?" it's because you're not playing by anybody else's rules. You're not playing by what anyone else tells you. You're doing this for you. And if you lose sight of that, you're not going to have fun anymore. And which is why I encourage anybody who's making something for themselves for the very first time, make the game that you want to make. I think that's a really important thing to remember. Make the game that you want to make, but try to keep your set realistic expectations for yourself. Your first game is probably going to suck. It just is. I know mine did. And I honestly, yeah, I've worked on games, but I've never really made my own game. I've worked on a lot of other people's games, but never really made my own. I have tried making my own once a long, long time ago, but I didn't really have. It kind of fell apart for various reasons. Also, I also found a 3D art job, and then and then I got laid off from that job, and then I found another job, and now I'm just kind of in between jobs, working on this guy right here while I work and go to school, and yeah, so I'm basically doing this for fun, but it also happens to be a commission. Yeah. I think that's a really important thing to kind of set your sights on. I'm kind of rambling, repeating myself, but yeah. Anyway, let's see here. Let's see if I can pass on the good vibes. Ooh, this guy's making pixel art. Or, oh, actually, no, he's drawing. He's cool. All right. Hey, I'm very sleepy, but got to go crash, but I want to stop by and say, oh, hey, thank you, Crazy Keshit. I appreciate you. I'm very sleepy, too, so I'm gonna raid somebody, and we'll call it a night. Thank you again for the help. It helped me so much. Of course. And I will also... maybe not today, but probably tomorrow, I will see if I can clip this as a featured clip so that I can have it for later, and then you guys can refer back to it. Because I also have a YouTube channel, I also have a Blue Sky, and I post stuff there too, along with... I mean, I'm not very good at posting tutorials, but I just kind of post whatever, mostly because I'm trying to get used to posting things to YouTube. But, yeah. Is your YouTube same as your Twitch? My YouTube should be Rune 3D, I believe, because I tried to call my Twitch channel Rune 3D, but somebody took it. So, yeah, 248, I just kind of settled with that little number because that was the last 3 digits of my old school ID when I went to art school. But, I am kind of considering to see if maybe I might change it to something else, like Rune 3D Art Mercenary? I don't know. I'm still thinking about that, but, or maybe I'll just keep it the same. Rune 3D. Actually, I'll see if I can post a link to my YouTube real quick. It might also be in the description below in my, on my Twitch channel. Ah, here we go. There. That should be my YouTube page. All right. I appreciate you guys sticking around and hanging out with me. And even though... actually, we did get a lot done today. And, yeah. I'll see how... I'll see if I can upload this test build to Unity. But honestly, I'm kind of tired and things are I kind of stayed up a little later than I thought I would. But anyway, I appreciate you guys sticking around and watching me. And I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. And we're going to continue working on this guy. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.